Hey guys, welcome back to Mechanics Life, and today we are working on a 2005 Mini Cooper. And what we're doing here, we're changing the hydraulic mount for the passenger side. Yeah, they tend to leak, and usually this gap right here that you see would compress all the way down. That's how you would know that your mount is bad, and obviously you would hear a lot of rattling, which is the case with this car. First thing you want to do is chock the wheels in the back, raise up the vehicle to about 8-9 inches of height, because you will have to work underneath the car. Put jack stands, and then you would want to use a jack to raise up the engine just a little bit so you can get the mount off easier. What you want to do is open the hood, and this is the mount that we're going to go ahead and change today, which is located under this bracket that is held by 4 bolts. There's 2 bolts here, there are 2 bolts right here that you take off, and then there's an 18mm nut right here that you take off and get the bracket off before you take this. By the way, this is a 13mm, and then you take off this to get the bracket off. I'm sorry, you take off this to get the mount off. And obviously there's one more nut, a bolt right underneath behind this, so you're gonna have to go through the wheel well to get it off. Next thing we want to do is jack up the car, and what I did was I used the jack, which is about probably like 6-7 inches away from the actual jack stand position, and I used the block to raise up the vehicle and put 2 jack stands, and I would leave this jack on here still just for extra support, and then I used another jack to put a block under the engine and raise up a little bit. And what this does is, if you take a look at the mount when I raise up the car, you see how it gave a little space? So now you have some room to wiggle, meaning that there is no tension on the motor mount at the moment. What you want to do is remove the battery cover and remove the negative cable, because you will be touching the grounding for the motor mount. So just for precaution, you do want to take it off, and you could just put it back on just for now before we're touching it. The next thing what you want to do is remove the 13mm ground. I'm going to take this nut off, put it aside, and once again you want to put your finger under here so it doesn't fall off the actual bolt from the housing. So we're going to put those on here so we don't lose it. So that's the ground cable. Now the next thing what we're going to do is remove the 18mm, and that's going to be used with a breaker bar and an 18mm socket. There we go. Took that off. Now we can get this bolt off. Once again, make sure that the engine is supported. As you can see, I can drop it, and then I can support it by picking it up just like so. Now it's loose right now. Well, it's not loose because it's still held on 4 bolts, 2 right there and 2 right there, which are going to be removed by a 16mm with a 12-inch extension, which is, I find, the easiest. And you use that same breaker bar to remove those. One, and then that's going to be 2. That's 2. Now that's That's 3. And then here it's a little bit tricky. I'm going to show you so you don't hurt any wires or anything like that. At this point you want to be very careful and remove the breaker bar from the extension so you can wiggle around the actual wires so you don't damage anything. Once you get it on, then you can use your breaker bar and remove it. So after you use the breaker bar, you can use a 1/2 inch drive ratchet to just get those off. I'll use the impact gun just because it's a little bit faster. That's 2. That's 3. That's 4. Once you got those out, I recommend pulling the bolts out, because if you just pull it out, you have a chance to just drop the actual bolts. Once you pull this out, that's the 4th bolt. You pull it out in case that's your bracket that's holding the your mount. So now your mount's free over the bracket itself. This is the mount, and as you can see how much wiggle, how much play it has in this mount. What we're gonna do next is go underneath the car and get the E10 socket, and if that doesn't work, you can use a 6-point size 10 socket to remove the last bolt that's connected underneath the mount. Looking at the car from the front, it's going to be on your passenger side. Below, this is the passenger wheel, and this is the cover that you want to push, and that's the E10 socket that I was talking about. So you would need a long extension, something like that, like a 12-inch, and try to get it in there. Okay, so after you get the bottom bolt, you take the 16mm bolt here that's connected to the frame, and you could just pull it off. This is what it looks like. The old one, you can see how much play this thing has, and it's obviously, you can see that it's been leaking out. Put that aside. We get the new one, and as you can see, there's absolutely no play in the new mount, and we just do everything back in a reverse. So put the 16mm, don't tighten all the way. Then we'll put the bottom bolt. This bolt is actually an E12, not the E10, E12. And that's the one that goes on the bottom of the car under the mount. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. So once we tighten the bottom bolt, we can go ahead and tighten this 16mm, which I used one of the box wrenches. That's good. Now we'll put the bracket back on, and if you remember, that was all the way on the bottom there, so we kind of have to slide it carefully. So we don't break anything. Lower it down a little bit, just like so, so it goes back to its own position. And then we put those bolts on. That's one. That's two. That's 3. That's 4. Drop the engine a little bit. And then slowly raise it up so it can match up the bolts, which were a 16 millimeter. Yep. And our extension use this, just make it a little bit quicker. Number 2. After you get it in with this one, we'll get a breaker bar and tighten everything by hand. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And the last one. That's 4. So all 4 mounting brackets are on. Next one, we'll put the 18 millimeter back on. Obviously, I'll use the breaker bar to tighten the last bolt. Just like so. Now we can remove the support. The engine's on top. We'll just do one more. That's it. That's good. Then we'll put the negative wire back, which was the 13 millimeter, the nut and the bolt, which goes underneath, just like so. Then this one goes on top, and you just screw that in, and you use a 13 millimeter and the ratchet. You tighten this out of the way, just like so. That's it. This is done. This is done. Everything's good to go. The last thing what we have to do is reconnect the battery. And we're going to put the battery terminal back, and we're going to tighten it. Just like so. We're going to put the cover back, just like that, and we're good to go. This is how you replace the engine mount on a 2005 Mini Cooper. Now, after you completed everything on this portion and you've done the back, the bottom portion, you tighten all the bolts, you can go ahead and safely raise up the vehicle, just like so. Get the jack stands out. Remove all the pads, and we can lower down the car just like that. Now, if you have any questions, concerns, please leave them in the comment below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment the video for more DIY, easy to follow steps on how to replace certain parts on certain different vehicles. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one. The tools that were used in this video. First one is a box wrench, size 16. Then we use the 16mm socket, which is a 1/2 inch drive. Then we used an 18mm socket, which is a 1/2 inch drive, a 1/2 inch drive, 12-inch extension, two 12-inch 3/8 inch extensions with a E12 socket to remove the last bolt for the motor mount on the bottom of the vehicle. Also, I used the breaker bar, and obviously I used the impact wrench, but again, this job is definitely doable without the impact wrench. The only reason I used it is to make this video faster than whatever it is already.